Oh, hi. I didn't see you standing there. You want to come in? You want to see something scary? Hey, Cinners, how you doing? You're listening to the Sinful Cuts podcast, the podcast where Sean O'Connor and Shannon Bushman-Montalbano break down some of your favorite horror films. We take a look at all the decades, the wild, weird, and wonderful world of horror, and all it has to offer. So sit back, tune in, and have some fun. Here we go.
Hey, Cinners, I'm Shannon.
And I'm Sean.
And this is Sinful Cuts.
And tonight we have the best guest ever on. We have Ariel Powers-Schaub. And let me tell you, Sinners, I am so excited, and I'll tell you why. Ariel is an accomplished author in her own right. She has, you have to go to her Instagram page, which is Ari_Hellraiser. Her LinkedIn goes on for about 17 miles. Not LinkedIn, her link tree goes on for about 17 miles. There's so much content there. There's magazine articles. There's your podcast appearances on Spotify. But the most important thing, the thing that I want to just hammer home is we have a new book coming out, and this is what we're so excited to talk about tonight. It's Millennial Nasties, Analyzing a Decade of Brutal Horror Film Violence from Encyclocalypse Publications. And I love everything about this. Ariel, forgive me, because I have to read the synopsis. I have to. So, okay, ready, Sinners?
It's your show.
You're right. Why am I asking you permission, Ariel? I'm doing it. Okay, get ready for this, Sinners. Check this out. So again, the name of the book is Millennial Nasties, and it comes out, I should mention, it comes out September 17th, 2024, and it is available for pre-order. I will put the link in the show notes, and I am telling you, you need this on your bookshelf. So listen to this. Torture porn, shock for shock's sake, violence that doesn't serve the plot, and characters you hate. What was going on with the 2000s in horror cinema? And why were audiences hungry for it? I know I was. Shannon, you too, right? Millennial Nasties takes a critical but appreciative look at the oft-ignored subset of horror. The book dissects the English language horror films of the 2000s and the cultural events that they were responding to, processing tragedy and war throughout the world, keeping pace with films from other countries, and swinging wildly away from the safe horror of the 1990s and 2000s. Brought grisly kills and shocking gore to cinema audiences home viewers. Films once dismissed as torture porn, their nasty slasher friends, and the remakes of this era have found a new home, and that home is a subgenre called Millennial Nasties. I'm like a Tex Avery cartoon. When I read that, it's just like, ooga, ooga. I have so many questions, so forgive me. I have to start with what prompted this book. What was what was the genesis of it?
I wanted to ask that too. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I already am so embarrassed by all of the compliments. I am like sitting here blushing. I know it's an audio medium, but I'm like, oh no, these are too many compliments. You guys are so kind. Thanks for having me. This is already a blast. So, okay, yes, Millennial Nasties, my proudest thing. How this book started. So, kind of got to take it back a few years to when I really first started writing about horror. And during lockdown, it was a weird time, right? It was a weird time for everybody. And I was just looping the Saw franchise a lot. Like I was just watching the Saw franchise over and over and over again. And just that's what I was doing to cope. And I started thinking about some of the themes and messages. And I was like, well, surely someone has written about this. I want to find something to read to process my thoughts. And I started looking around and I wasn't finding anything exactly. I mean, there's a ton written about Saw, but I wasn't finding exactly what I was thinking about. So I just started writing. And I was like, I'll just kind of put my thoughts down and process them myself. And then I really liked what I wrote. So I pitched it to Ghouls Magazine, which has since sadly closed, but we had like a really hot 3 years where we were going really strong. And Ghouls said yes to me and published my first article about the Saw franchise. And so from there, I realized how much I loved writing horror analysis, and I kept doing that. And Millennial Nasties grew because at first I thought I'd write a book about the Saw franchise because that is my favorite.
Nice.
But I was realizing I had so much more to say about other films of the time and how the Saw franchise impacted them and how they impacted it, that it just kind of grew into this bigger idea. And again, I went looking. I was like, somebody must have already written this book. And I keep saying in my interviews, like, if anybody knows of a book that's out there that I missed, please let me know. Like, there is some great writing about this time period, but not a book of analysis that I was looking for. And so I was like, well, I guess I better just write it then it will exist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
And honestly, the horror community needs it because it is a little bit of a blind spot. There's not a whole hell of a lot out there. So I'm so happy that you kept writing.
Yeah,
Thank
same.
you. Thank you. That's so kind. I mean, I'm excited if people want to read it. Like every time people want to read something I wrote, I'm like, huh? You know, and not like putting myself down, but just kind of like, yes, there are other people who want to deep dive into the psyche of Detective Hoffman or whatever. Like, you know, they're out there. You just got to find them.
Yeah.
And I do think, you know, this year's the 20th anniversary of Saw. So we're just starting to have enough time away from the decade where all this was going on to really look back and see what it was. When you're in something, it's hard to see what it is and the impact it will have. We're starting to be able to see that now. And I
Yeah.
think people are starting to look back and go, oh, we shouldn't have been dismissing these films. These were actually meaningful.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with your assessment that you need time away from it. You got to,
Yeah.
you have to have the ability to look back and process it. But I have to ask, I'm so curious. Besides Saw, which I know. Oh, by the way, Sinners, as I said, absolutely have to go to Ariel's Instagram because those Ghoul magazine articles are in your link tree. Those old articles
Yes.
are there. But also what's fantastic is your other podcast appearances are there, and you do such a phenomenal job deconstructing the Saw franchise. So Sinners, if you want to
Thank you.
listen to another podcast, I guess it's okay with us. But no, I'm kidding. It's waiting there for you, and I'm telling you, it's such a fantastic listen. So I've been dining out on it. I'm really enjoying
Thank you. I did like 40 hours on the Saw franchise last year on different podcasts. And I was like, by December, I was like, I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah.
it. But
I love the
it's
Saw franchise.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. And we need to
Yeah.
we need to find our people.
those episodes, they're so comprehensive, they're so informed, but they're also so incredibly entertaining. It's it's lively, and I love the discussion. So yeah, please go check it
Thank
out.
you.
But I have to let's talk about all right. So the Millennial Nasties as a whole, that period of time,
Yeah,
besides Saw, what give me a few other movies that
yeah,
really resonate during that time period.
absolutely. So, I kind of break it down in the book into different sections of what was going on. And so some of the hallmarks of this era, in addition to Saw, we had a lot of vacations gone wrong
Oh
movies during
boy,
this
yeah.
time. Hostel and Hostel 2, Turistas, Wolf Creek, even Cabin Fever. There was a lot of, if you venture out, you won't be safe. But then there was also a lot of, you're not even safe at home. And we had home invasion movies and
Mhm.
families that would hurt you. And whether that was your own family or another family that you were stuck with. And it definitely came from this place, especially, I do talk about it being post 9/11 in my book, and that's not the only thing I talk about, but that's one of the impacts. And so during that time in the United States, especially, people were feeling like, I don't know where to go to feel safe. I don't,
Yeah.
is my home safe? Is leaving my home safe? I'm not sure. So processing that, you can see that in the different kinds of danger you found in and out of the home. There were also, people kind of forget that there were new slashers. during this time. We think about the late 90s slashers and the post-Scream boom, and those are all great. But we had Final Destination films, and
Yeah.
some people have kind of said, like, what are those doing in this book? Because they do have a different aesthetic, for sure. But when you think about it, like, they're quite nasty. Death itself is coming for teenagers in horrible, crushing ways, literally. So we had that. We also had the Wrong Turn franchise at this time. We had Hatchet. So there was a lot of like fear of the other, fear of the unknown. You can't escape death, like it's coming for you. And then also, especially near the end of this era, we had a boom of remakes. A lot of the classic video nasties being remade at this time, like Texas Chainsaw and Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I hadn't thought about this, but there's a real direct correlation between the Final Destination movies and Saw. As far as the kills going, they are incredibly nasty, but there's also like that Rube Goldberg, machination about it too, which I love. I absolutely love. But yeah, I mean, Final Destination, those kills, they're brutal.
Yeah,
for sure.
And they're great.
Especially the opening scene of the second one.
Yes.
You know, like,
tell me, traumatized us all.
Yeah, especially like if you ever seen a truck with any logs on it, you know, you're like, nope. Like,
you can tell who grew up watching these movies.
I'll pull over for 20 minutes.
Those scared me before the movie. I don't like that at all.
I know.
Yeah.
Ari, I have to ask you, do you think, is there a certain element to what was happening here in the States with the video nasties? Do you think there's any kind of like callback or like keeping up with the Joneses with what was going on overseas with like maybe like the new French Extremity and things like that? Do you think that played into it as well?
Absolutely. So this was a global phenomenon, and I narrowed my scope for my book because you have to, otherwise you'll just write forever and never finish. But there are really excellent books about New French Extremity. In particular, I recommend Alex West's book, Films of the New French Extremity. It's incredible. You also had Japan was doing a lot of really hyper-violent movies at the time. And you had them coming out of Australia. Not as much in Britain, but in other parts of Europe, you were starting to see, especially near the end of the decade, like The Human Centipede and a Serbian film and like really extreme cinema. So what I think was happening globally, I mean, first of all, the internet was starting to be more common in everybody's homes at this time. It was much more accessible. And streaming started in the mid 2000s-ish to become a very accessible thing at home too. It took a while for it to grow beyond that, but suddenly we were able to see movies and learn about movies and hear about movies that we had never heard about before. And so it was easier for films of different countries to influence each other than it ever had been before. And so someone in this country would go, oh, they push the envelope in that way. I'm going to do it. I'm going to push it a little bit further. And then they do. And then the next person goes, I'm going to push it a little bit further. And then that just goes on until we get some of the nastiest shit you've ever seen on screen. Yeah. So it all influenced each other. It's a big ecosystem of responding and building.
Yeah. It's like a big swamp forest.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I feel like we're maybe getting into that cycle now. Internationally, I'm starting to notice, Damien Rugna with Atarados and When Evil Lurks. Some of these films that are coming out that are they're incredibly well made, but they're particularly nasty. And I'm so for it.
I was going to say, like, much to our delight.
Yeah. Did you guys see The Coffee Table?
Not yet. Oh,
not
I want
yet.
to see it so badly.
Not yet. Yeah, I saw the trailer for it.
Have a great time. Have a wonderful time.
I've heard I'm going to go in one way. I'm definitely not going to come out the same way.
It's a before and after film, yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Shannon just saw In a Violent Nature. I've yet to check that one out, but again, different, a new take, hyper violent. But I'm here for it. I just want to see, what is going on. We've got Cuckoo coming out soon, which I hear is just all sorts of incredible bonkers. What else is coming out that's exciting? That's
Terrifier
my
Long
3.
legs.
Terrifier
Long
3 and
legs.
Long
Long legs.
Legs.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, look, we're spoiled. We're getting spoiled these
I
days with
know.
horror.
Yeah. We
I hope
truly are. We truly are. And it's nice because, like, in the last few years, there's been so much new horror that there's some that's not for me, and other people love it, and that's great, and vice versa. It's like, I really feel like we can get something for everybody. Whereas, like, in other eras, that wasn't the case. Like in the millennial nasty era, there was like this one thing that we were all fed, and I
Yeah.
liked it, but a lot of people didn't. And so, like, you were kind of stuck with it. But now I feel like there really is something for everybody, I hope.
It was very much like, if the way I look at it, it was very much like leapfrog. Like, we're just gonna keep doing
Yes.
this, and you saw, like, or one movie would just blast out,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden, actually what we're talking about, I think, is going to be one of them, but we'll get into that for
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity. But one movie would literally just, like, literally a firecracker and blast out, and then all of a sudden, like, you would see very influential movies coming out because of it.
Absolutely.
They didn't land as much, but for some reason I feel like that was a trend for a long time. Scream, tried bringing back the slasher flick. And then people tried, bringing back, you mentioned them all before. The Final Destinations, where it's not necessarily a slasher, but it technically is in a different way.
Right.
So, but that,
Yeah.
also landed in its own, has its own place in the world now. And it's, but we have now the most diverse Christmas presents I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I have my clothes over there, but I got my toys over there, and I got my electronics
Yes.
over here, and my old school, just blocks and,
I
whatever. I don't know.
Yes.
I
I'm
don't know.
with you.
I don't know about you, but we started this year off, and typically those first couple of months is kind of like dumpuary, and
Yeah.
studios just get rid of stuff. But I was going to the theater every couple of weeks, seeing another great, small, independent-ish horror movie, and it went on until April. And then now we're going to get into some of the summer releases, and I was like, this is just an embarrassment of riches, and I really do feel
Yes.
like I'm spoiled because I couldn't remember the last time that a year started off and it was just banger after banger, and I was like, this is a very exciting year. And all right, so Ariel,
We're doing well. Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to agree with this, but Shannon and I, we're putting it out there that we think the scream queen of 2024 is going to be Dan Stevens. We think that Dan Stevens is like in every other horror movie in 2020.
Yeah. Listen, he can be in every movie as far as I'm concerned. That's fine
Same.
with me.
Same.
He deserves to be scream queen. You watch.
Yes.
You watch.
Absolutely.
He's in the lead right now. He's definitely in the lead. So we're getting a kick out of that. So all
Yes.
right, I suppose we should talk about Paranormal Activity. So that's what that was the movie that we chose for tonight, and I'm so glad we did, because I think that, Shannon, to your point, this was a film that, we had the Blair Witch Project come along, and it was astounding. And I mean, it changed everything. Oh man, people believed it, myself included. I thought they was really dead. I thought it was a documentary. But all of a sudden, Oren Peli comes along and he's like, I think I could do something along those lines, make it my own, make it super cheap. And then it goes on to make, I think, $175 million, no, $194 million on a $215,000 budget. And it is truly, it's a scary little film.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Creeps me out.
Yeah, he was a video game programmer before this, and just decided I wanted more. And yeah, to your point, you probably thought of the Blair Witch Project, and could shoot it on the cheap, one location, two actors, and he just had the brilliant idea of taking a standard haunted house story and making it a haunted person. Like, I think it
Yeah.
just kind of clicked to him, and because now he's like, okay, like, it just gives him a reason to stay there.
Yeah.
Where, Amityville Horror House, they eventually ran away. Other, I don't know. There's usually always a reason to go back in a haunted house, apparently, but he kind of skipped all that. He's like, no, they're not safe anywhere. So now it's like, doesn't matter.
That's
Yeah.
so terrifying. It's just so terrifying. But I'm getting so ahead of myself because I forgot what we do, Shannon. The first question that we have for our guest is, why'd you pick this film?
Oh
Yeah. Okay. So my history with this film. So I saw it in theaters when it came out, and I was in college at the time, and I saw it on a date. And the guy I was with, we were both really scared. So like after the date, we were both like afraid, and that was really sweet and kind. But like, I was just like, this movie scared the shit out of both of us. Like one of us is supposed to not be afraid. But it really worked for me, and so I love my Millennial Nasties and I love my Saw franchise, but my favorite movie of all time is The Blair Witch Project. That movie like sits in the center of
Nice.
my heart in a little lockbox. I keep it locked away. It's my favorite. And I saw that movie when I was 12 in the theaters, and I didn't know what was happening, and my dad had to explain to me that we didn't just watch people die and all this. And so that was a really impactful movie for me. And so I hadn't seen anything like that since, until Paranormal Activity. Like I knew it wasn't real, but it gives you that unsafe, unsettled feeling of what's going to happen. The other reason this movie is special to me is because, so it got a festival release in 2007, but it got a wide release in 2009. And this is the movie that's responsible for knocking Saw off its throne. So for years it was, if it's October, it must be Saw. And Saw would go make $1 zillion billion at the box office and have a great time. And then this movie came out the same year that Saw 6 did. And Saw 5 wasn't great, so Saw 6 was going to suffer. But Saw 6 is an absolute banger. It's one of the best. And it suffered because it was up against Paranormal Activity. People were kind of winding down the millennial nasty vibe. They liked this paranormal, different place to go, something fresh. And so Saw still made $1 zillion billion, but like a little bit less than usual. So they were like, we got to wrap this up. And they did one more movie and walked away, until now. But this movie comes out of my favorite movie of all time and dethrones my favorite franchise of all time. Like there's a trifecta of movies that affect my life, and it's The Blair Witch Project, Saw, and Paranormal Activity. So I love it. It's a favorite, and it's special and important.
Great.
I love it.
Love it. That is fantastic. There's just too many coincidences of it started with Blair Witch, it knocked off your favorite. That's a little spooky.
I might be living in a simulation. It's impossible to say.
You're so right. I saw Paranormal Activity in the theater as well. And full disclosure, saw it by myself in the afternoon when I was supposed to be at work.
Love that. That's the best.
It was almost a completely empty theater, which made it 10 times more terrifying.
Yeah.
Typically I like full theater and you kind of like you surf on the vibe,
It's a vibe, yeah.
But this was like I was all by myself and it scared the stuffing out of me. I mean, it really did affect me. And I left. I was kind of shaken, and I'm in my car. And after I kind of like came down, I was like, I really did just have an incredible experience. Because those moments where you can be affected by a film, it doesn't necessarily have to be horror, but just any film in general where it really affects you like that. I love that.
It's the best.
That's my favorite thing in the world.
It's what we live for, right? Us movie people. That's what we're chasing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll admit, I unfortunately did not get it with this movie. Because I didn't see it in the theaters. I saw it at home. I think I might have rented it off Netflix when they were still, doing DVDs. And I don't know. I think it was just in, maybe the safety of my own home, and I don't know. And I was definitely a snob back then, and I was just kind of like, just trying to bite off Blair Witch, blah, blah, blah. Nothing's happening. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So I'll admit I was a bit of a snob. Going back now, though, I mean, I'm definitely impressed by the legacy that it has, for sure. It definitely, it absolutely has mileage on it. I definitely appreciated it going back now, looking at it again through this, through, more of an adult lens.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you mind if we just kind of unpack the franchise? We don't have to really, go into every one of them, but I feel like the first one is, it's tremendous. It
Mhm.
sets the tone. It
Mhm.
also creates this, it lays the groundwork for this pretty interesting mythology that they're creating. This
Yes.
world building that they're doing.
Yeah.
Because within the first 4 minutes of the film, you've got Katie telling Micah that, this has been happening since she was 8 years old, which
Mhm.
I love because you pick up on it. You're like, well, that's an odd thing to say. And of course, as the movie goes along, it starts to make sense. Like, yeah, she's haunted. But
Yeah.
I felt like two is a little bit weaker because you're coming off a strong
Mhm.
number one. But let me tell you, I think three might be my favorite.
It's the
Three,
Dream Warriors of the Paranormal Activity franchise. Yeah,
perfectly put.
me
Perfectly put.
too.
It is so scary. It's so
Mhm.
creative, then it really just like it expands the mythology, and it really lands. It sticks the landing. I watched four today. Full disclosure, I hadn't seen
Mhm.
it, and I have yet to see five. But I saw Next of Kin. Have
Mhm.
you both seen Next of Kin?
I have not.
I
I
have,
love
yeah.
that movie. I think it's fantastic. I mean, you may disagree, Ariel, but I really, really, I thought like, okay, they've taken their time, they've stepped away a little bit, and we're kind of going in a different direction, but we're also leaning into the mythology pretty heavy at the end there. I thought it was really well done. I was impressed.
So you know what's funny? We just finished covering this on the Pod and the Pendulum earlier this year, which is why I watched Next of Kin. I hadn't seen it before. And when I watched it, I was like, this stinks. I do not like this movie. This
I'll
is
see
like
myself out.
no, wait for me. I'm gonna come back around. I was like, this shouldn't be found footage. What are they doing? This is, all these things. And then something that often happens when I talk about a movie on a podcast, my opinion of it goes way up. Does that ever happen to you guys?
Yes.
Like,
Every episode.
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty
like
much.
hearing somebody else's perspective and just kind of talking through the things that bothered you and deciding if they really bother you that much. Like,
Mm.
and I won't say what Mike said because it's a bit of a spoiler, but Mike made a point to me in that episode that totally changed my whole perspective on the film. And I gave it like 2 more stars than I had before. So I like it, but I needed to be brought around to it.
All right,
Okay.
you're gonna have to hit me up on Instagram, DM me, and let me
Okay.
know what he said because
For
I'm
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm so curious. I do
You're
agree
gonna
with.
love it. You're gonna love it.
Oh, I can't wait now. I do agree with your assessment though that maybe it didn't have to be found footage. It could have worked. It was just a narrative film. But I liked it as the found footage as well. I love where. Okay, I'm eating all my teeth and my tongue at the same time.
You're doing
So
That's
great.
so
I'll slow
normal.
down.
It's normal.
It's a body horror
Where
podcast.
where do we stand with the found footage genre
Hmm.
as a whole? Like, if you're going to stack it, like, okay, slashers are my favorite, or millennial nasties, now we have a completely new contender to our categories, which I absolutely love. So we got millennial nasties and we have creature features. Where does found footage? Is it high up? Is it low down? Ariel, I know for you it's the apex because of Blair Witch, but Shannon, what about for you?
So it's not my favorite genre, probably because of the whole like vertigo, the vertigo effect sometimes.
There you
Fair,
go.
Where
Yeah.
I'll
fair.
admit I'll admit I do catch myself just looking at like the corner for a
Yeah.
little bit, just
Center
especially with
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, especially for like the running scenes, and I'm like, okay, like
It makes sense.
so
Yeah.
there's it's not. I'll admit it's not my favorite, especially on a big screen. Um,
Mhm.
but I have come to appreciate quite a few that are told, really really well. Like I know he went on to do the Chernobyl Diaries. That I didn't think that was a
Mhm.
horrible movie. He
Oh, I
didn't
like that
direct
one.
it. Yeah, well, what's I mean, Pelly. I know he wrote the screenplay. I know he didn't have time to direct it, but he did write that one. Um, you have oh my god, with the Cloverfield, you had, which
Mhm.
I thought was a great one. As Above, So Below, I really enjoyed. So,
We're doing that at the end of the year. I
yeah,
love that movie. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's not that I haven't, like I've seen movies that I haven't necessarily liked, but I think it just might be that reason why I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily have to go back and watch it over and over and
Mhm.
over again, like I can do with a slasher flick, things like that. So, VHS is one of my favorites actually, but that one literally made me throw up.
Oh no.
VHS did from the Vertigo?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Like
Yeah.
literally, I was just like, this movie's so great.
Oh, no. Oh, no, that's not what you want.
Well,
No. Put a
but
Dramamine
I watched the
patch on.
whole thing. I watched the whole thing and went back.
That's my part.
There you go.
Yeah,
I
stick with it.
I really like found footage. It's kind of like right in the middle for me. But I guess you could say this about every subgenre of horror. When it's done well, boy, does it skyrocket. You
Yep.
know, Blair Witch. I'm not joking. I really did. I was so obsessed with the Blair Witch when it came out. I was just hours online, just soaking up all the content that I could find about it, and it just made it fun. It made it like a completely
Yeah.
immersive
The
experience.
marketing was so great for that. The marketing, like, absolutely did it on purpose. Like, it
Yes.
totally sucked you in. But they made a website and everything, and it wasn't until not to. I'm not putting myself on a high horse or anything. I just literally happened to be at work, and I was looking through, the old ancient thing that we use, Sean, called a newspaper, where
I don't
where
know.
Microfiche.
I was where I was looking up movie times to go after work. And it wasn't until that day of the release where they finally put a tagline that said, "A movie so scary you'll think it's real." It was right then
Okay.
and there. I was like, okay, it's not real. And then so I went with my friends, and I'm like, oh, it's not real. And they're just like, how do you know? And I'm like, because the
It says,
newspaper,
right
the
there, yeah.
newspaper. And they're like, what the fuck is a newspaper? No, I'm just kidding.
They're like, you old. How old are you? So, Ariel, I'll have to ask though, because I answered for you, because I'm like Mika, mansplaining everything, and
I need to get it.
talking over all the women on the podcast.
I need to get it to Mika. Yes.
Yeah, we're going to circle back around, but I have to ask you because I answered for you. Is found footage your favorite?
Oh, it's so hard to pick a favorite. It's found footage and millennial nasties are both my favorite.
That's fair.
The thing I love about found footage is like chasing that unsafe feeling, because there's so much found footage. Like you can just dig through streaming sites and just find all the found footage, and a lot of it is not very good. So it's this exciting feeling of like hunting and digging for the thing that's going to scare me and unsettle me and make me feel a little sick, make me pause the movie and Google, is this real? That's what I love about found footage, is that it's like being on a roller coaster. You're feeling unsafe, but you're safe. That's what I like about found footage.
Well,
So it's really high up there for me.
I love some of the international found footage that we have. Like when I saw Wreck for the first time, and I'm like, is this the best found footage ever? And then I saw Wreck 2, and I was like, no, this one's the best. When you get something that's so creative and inventive like that, and it's done so well, it's just like you just circle back to it. It's Wreck and Wreck 2 are two of the films that when we meet people that are like, yeah, look, you know what, I like horror, but I don't love horror. We get this all the time. Could you suggest something? That's typically, I'm like, oh, you like found footage? Check this out. And then I never hear from them again. So I don't know.
There you go.
So let's unpack the film a little bit, because we need to talk about Micah. Boy, do we need to talk about Micah. So we've got the setup that, we've got a couple that are engaged to be engaged, and they have a lovely home in California, and they just have this slight, and it really is, I'm not being a wise guy. They have a slight little problem that they've got some noises and they've got some disturbances in the house that they can't really chalk up to settling floorboards or the attic. It's windy in the attic. So, you just start slow, and it just starts to build from there. But what I will say, I don't think I appreciated it the first couple of times I saw this film, but I certainly appreciate it now, is the characterization, because the dynamic between Katie and Micah now, like, it pops off the screen at me. Whereas I think the first few times I watched it, I was so focused on what was going on in the background as opposed to what was going on in the foreground.
Yeah. Yeah, Pelly gave him a lot of freedom, and they, I mean, obviously he helped guide them into what he wanted them to do, but for the most part, they were filming themselves, and they made up and improv most of the dialogue, which is beyond impressive.
Right?
Honestly, beyond impressive.
And
Yes.
they're when you initially see them, they're a likable couple. They're the dynamic introduces itself as it goes along. I blame Micah for everything that goes wrong in this film.
Same.
Everything that goes wrong.
Yeah. He's not helping, that's for sure.
No,
Well,
I think he kind of initiated the whole thing getting worse.
He makes
honestly.
it worse.
Yeah.
I was just going
Absolutely.
to say, I mean, you had the well, forgive me, I don't know if it was a doctor or professor that came over. That nice gentleman came over and was giving advice, and he's like, "Look, you don't want to open the door for this entity. You don't want to do that. So don't screw around." And what's the first thing Micah does? Is he goes and gets a Ouija board.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Grounds for divorce. I swear to
Right?
God. Like, the way he goes about that, where he's like, I didn't buy a Ouija board. I promised you I wouldn't buy a Ouija board. Like, pack your shit. Get out.
He's so
Like, that
annoying.
is
like
that is
fist
the
in
worst.
face. Like I almost punched the screen. I was just like, I would kill you.
Yeah, it's like he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing the whole time when he said that to her. At no point does he respect Katie's wishes
Nope.
or Katie's experience. Katie has
No.
experienced this thing before, and he doesn't listen to how she thinks they should deal with it. He's just like, you're my girlfriend. This is my house. Blah.
Yeah, well,
He
he's
kinda
treating the whole thing
gaslights
like
her.
he's treating the whole
Yes.
thing like a joke. Like, like,
Yes.
oh, well, I totally want to catch this on film, and the more like he's seeing, like, he, I still think, like, even though things are happening, you see the sheets moving, obviously everything starts off very slow. But he's still just like, no, there's got to be an explanation for it, and you're just like, dude, like, it's yeah.
Have to give credit to Oren Pelly. It may have been done, and I just can't recall. But to make the person haunted as opposed to the house, it's so delicious, because it takes your number one problem right off the table for the viewer, which is, why don't you leave? Well, you can't, because wherever we go, it's just going to follow us. So it's just the best and the most terrifying, because you're honestly screwed. You're like, you have to figure out how to confront the situation, because there's no one's going to come to save you.
It's almost like a possession movie. It's like half haunted house, half possession, because the solution in either one of those films won't help you here. So you've got the worst of both worlds of those kinds of problems. And one of the scariest parts in the movie for me is when the demonologist guy or whatever comes back and he's like, oh, it doesn't like me being here. I gotta go. Like,
I gotta go.
How terrifying. Because in any other movie, when that person shows up, the problem starts to get solved. They start to work through it. You get your exorcism scene, you get your books flying around and scary stuff, but you get through it. But he goes, nope, this isn't good. I'm getting out of here, which, he's probably correct about, but it makes the movie terrifying. They are all alone.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the point in the film where Katie starts to retreat into herself big time, and Micah loses that dude bro douchey bravado. And then it become super, super real, because then we're in our third act, and then things just kind of escalate from there.
It's way too late from there. It's way too late. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's start. I did, when I was doing my research for the film, they did film a couple of alternate endings. So Cinners, we should always forget to make this announcement in the beginning. We're going to spoil this film. You had your chance.
You really should know by now.
This is all your fault. we're going to Micah you very badly right now. It's all your fault.
Yes,
You
you
had
did
this
this.
coming. Yeah, you did this. So Micah is killed by Katie, and then Katie comes upstairs, looks at the camera, and then races towards it, and then you can see her face is becoming demon-like. And I was probably in like the 5th row when that scene happened, and then when it was over, I was in the 11th row. or I may have been on the ceiling like a cat, scared the bejesus out of me. But they had filmed 2 alternate endings. The first was Katie kills Micah off screen, comes back to the bedroom covered in blood, and then is there for a day. And her friend comes to check on her and gets scared away by noises, calls the police. The police show up. When they kind of jostle Katie, she kind of comes back into herself, but she still has the knife. And then the attic door slams, and one of the police officers shoots Katie, and then she dies. And then the film is dedicated to Micah and Katie. That was one that they actually showed at the festival that you mentioned, Ariel.
Mm-hmm.
So that was originally going to be the take. Then they had an alternate ending, a new alternate ending, where Katie kills Micah off screen, comes upstairs, approaches the camera, and slits her own throat, and then collapses to the floor, which could have been very jarring and graphic. But that never was released. I think I kind of like the one that they went with because it leaves the ambiguity of, okay, whatever happened to Katie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when Paramount got involved and they were like, hey, we'll distribute this movie for you, they were like, let's leave Katie alive just in case we want to make a sequel. And
sequels,
they sure did do that.
They did.
Yeah. So that's like the big time studio decision that made a huge difference.
For sure.
Let me tell you how that went down. The gigantic conference room and all the bigwigs there. And then some intern goes, maybe you should leave Katie alive. And then someone took credit for it. And that's what happened.
Yeah. The intern out there. Hey, intern, if you're listening, we appreciate you. Thank you for all you do.
It was a good decision. A great decision on your part. We see you.
Yeah.
How about this? Though? So I'm reading about, Jason Blum gets involved. He's working for Miramax at the time. Sorry, have to you have to do the gypsy cross when you mention that name. But he likes the film, and then he teams up with Oren Peli, and they're like, okay, let's try and get this thing off the ground. They submit it to Sundance. It does not get accepted, surprisingly, but it does get the attention of Steven Spielberg with the intention of, we're gonna reshoot it. Love the idea, and Oren Peli's gonna direct it. But then they release it, and it gets such a insane reaction in the theater. People start leaving, and their first reaction is, "Oh my goodness!" People hate it. People were leaving because they were so scared, and they're like, "We're not going to reshoot it." They were going to do a bigger budget. They were going to get different actors. It was going to be a whole Megillah, and they're like, "No. You know what? I think we have something as is." And look at that. It just exploded.
Yeah. Yes. I think everybody appreciated the rawness of it too. Like, just the simplicity of it, and it made it feel more real, honestly. I think Peli had a really good point of, kind of, again, he guided the story and guided the actors, but he really kind of just let them, they said it in multiple interviews, both Katie and Micah, that they actually had a lot of creative freedom. Where, if she chose, they talked about him getting the Ouija board, and she's just like, oh yeah, I'm going to freaking scream at you. And she was pissed. And I felt it. I was just like, that's exactly how I would react.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't screw around with that stuff. Oh boy, no.
Here's the thing. I don't know if I believe, but I don't want to find out if I believe.
Don't do it.
If you don't mess around, you don't have to find out. So let's just not. You know what
absolutely.
I mean? Let's not with Ouija boards. I'm not going to do it.
No.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. People make fun of me, but I'm like, listen, you won't find me summoning demons. That's for sure.
No, it was my sister-in-law actually tried. So I had my bachelorette in Salem. before I got married. And, I brought my sister-in-law and everything like that. And, a couple of friends. And she busted out a Ouija board
Absolutely not.
in a crushed up box. And I was like, absolutely not. And she's like, oh my God, I thought you'd be so into this. And I'm like, I've seen enough movies to know not to be into this.
Listen to the horror movie buffs, people. We are here to help you.
So they did it, and I was whiskey drunk, and I'm like, I'm going to go to sleep. And I went to bed. I was in bed sleeping.
Excuse me one moment, Cinners. You're listening to the final episode of Sinful Cuts. We will no longer be doing this because my partner is obviously haunted. What are you doing?
No, she didn't put her hands on the planchette. She's safe.
Yeah. No, I did not touch it at all. I didn't touch the box. I didn't touch the board. Nothing. I was like, nope.
No way, man. I tell you what, absolutely not.
You are freaking me out right now.
I'm so glad we're all on the same page because so many people pick on me, but I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if you pick on me because I'm not going to be haunted. How about that?
Yeah, no, they're insane.
Yeah. I will gladly wear the full chicken costume with the wings and all. Same. Not for me.
My not haunted self will be over there in my chicken costume.
We like Paranormal Activity. We like the franchise as a whole. Let's talk about some influences. So we obviously have the Blair Witch. But what about going back a little bit further, like Legend of Boggy Creek, or even like the Leonard Nimoy, oh my gosh, In Search of. Boy, am I showing my age. But it was like...
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, on TVs that had knobs and you had to get up and twist them.
I remember them well. Sometimes you'd smack it to get the signal better. Yeah.
Screwing around with the antenna. But there was the Legend of Boggy Creek. Going back, then let's go overseas, and you had movies like Cannibal Ferox and Cannibal Holocaust that were found footage. There's like a really good, strong legacy. And there's going to be, a legacy for years to come.
Absolutely.
We just had Ariel was telling Shannon we have a episode we call Shortcuts. It's like a half hour.
Yeah, I've listened. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And we're posting this one tomorrow. I watched Frogman on Screambox.
Did you love it?
I want to hug this movie.
I love it so much. I love it so much.
I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to spoil anything.
Nope, no spoilers.
There's a sweetness to this film.
Yeah.
Because of the main character, Dallas, but that third act, it's like they sat around and they were like, we want to do this. We shouldn't do this. Let's do this.
Let's do it. Yeah. So last year I went to the Telluride Horror Show in October, and I'll go again this year because I had such a blast. It was the first movie on Saturday morning. And it's a Saturday morning horror movie. It was perfect for that, like still waking up feeling. Oh, it was wonderful. I want a shirt. There's a shirt in the movie that says "Frog Around and Find Out," and I need it.
Oh, come on!
I need it.
That's amazing.
I need that shirt.
I didn't even see the movie yet, and I want that shirt.
You need that.
It's okay, Ari. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on the spot right now because you're a delight, and we want you back.
Oh gosh!
I'm going to give you. Oh, how about this? You can come back and you can talk about Blair Witch because it's your favorite movie, and I'd never want to take that away from you because we could really do a deep dive on that. But could we do that? But also at the end, do like a good 10 minutes on Frogman.
I'll watch it by then.
What is it? My birthday? Yes, we can do that.
I'll totally watch it by then.
All right,
Absolutely.
great. All right, so Shannon and I have the summer's booked up. It's a humble brag, but the summer's booked
flex.
up. But at the end of the summer into the fall, we've got and it really does go into our found footage month. So this is like kismet. So I'll email you, and it'll be a couple of months. It'll be a couple of months, and I don't want to.
The book will be out by then, though. That'll be good.
Oh,
that will be good.
Forget everything I said. You're coming back. You're coming back at least 2 weeks before the book. A week to 2 weeks before the book, so we can promote the hell out of it.
You guys are so kind. Seriously. Yeah. Where are you coming from? You're so sweet.
This is what we love to do. Horror supports horror.
I
You know,
agree. Well, I totally agree. But, you know, it's just nice to, like, I'm just like, wow, people want to promote my stuff. I mean, you guys must know how weird that feels. It's nice, though.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, when people compliment us, we're like, "Oh, we're good."
Right, exactly,
Huzzah!
exactly. And it's not because you think you're bad, it's just because you don't think anyone's noticed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
No, that's
Yeah.
so sweet. I would be absolutely honored to come back anytime you want me to.
Oh, count on it.
Yay.
We're going to do it. I'll check your schedule and we'll do it in September, early September. And you let me know what works out perfectly because you're going to be busy as well. I know you're going to be busy promoting the book, but if you can give us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can carve out an hour on a Monday night or whatever is good for you, we'll make sure it happens and we'll
Let's
do a
make it
little deep dive.
happen.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh, I love it. We're so appreciative of the guests that come on, but when they're cool and they're fun, it's just like, yeah, and we have not had, not that we admit it, but we have not had one bad guest.
No, you
at
guys have
all.
had some really good guests. I was just finishing listening to the Sadie Hartman episode. Speaking of
Ah,
absolute queens of
oh,
horror.
absolute
Yes.
queen for sure.
Yeah.
She deserves the name Mother Horror. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
oh,
Yes.
like just like I bow.
How about
Absolutely
Sadie
true.
winning the Stoker? Holy smokes!
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, well deserved. Well
Yes.
deserved.
Absolutely.
Big time.
And then we have Emily Hughes has her book coming out in a couple of months, pretty much the same time that your book's coming out as well. I mean, it's a great year. We talked about that it's a great year for horror, but how about books? I mean, we're
Right?
just like so
What-
spoiled.
I know, incredible horror movie coming out by Paul Tremblay soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
I'm
know,
looking forward to that.
Oh my God, again, we don't deserve this. We keep
Every
saying
time I look at Instagram, Clay McLeod Chapman has another work
Another
coming out.
book. Another book. Unstoppable. I love it so much.
I'm telling you,
Shannon
his
gets-
name is Clone McLeod Chapman. I'm telling you, that's his name.
I was just about to say you nicknamed him the best nickname ever.
That's really funny. That's very good.
He's
He had the best
everywhere.
answer. When we had him on, we're like, Clay, come on, man. How do you do it? And he says, like, you have one life, and this is what I love. And one day, I don't know, maybe it'll all go away, but I'm just gonna grind until then. And like, you just watch him with
impressive.
these videos. He was in a 4th grade class today, and he's making them scream, and they're loving him. And I'm like, this is great. This is why we do it. This is why we have these, these get-togethers, because horror people are cool.
Like, let's just be fun and positive and
Right?
not bitter and rude.
Exactly.
Like, we can just
There's
do that, guys.
There's no
Yeah.
reason for it. Just
Yep.
kill them in the movies. It's fine.
That's
That's what we want to see.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah,
Yes.
get
Ariel.
your stress out on the screen. It's fine.
You have to see us when we come up against works that we don't really love. You have to see the tongue-tied and the physical. We're like, well, there were a lot of people that worked really hard on it, and I know,
Right, well, exactly, right. Because any movie that gets made is basically a miracle.
which I would have loved to have been a part of, right?
Right.
Even the worst one.
So many things have to go right and not go wrong to even have it exist. And so,
and that just doesn't happen. Like, everything goes wrong all the time. Yeah.
There's so many movies that simply don't get made. And so the fact that I even get to watch it and criticize it is an achievement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
Agreed.
All right, Shannon, is it time? It's time for our 3 silly questions.
I think it's time for our 3 silly questions.
Okay.
All right. So they're harmless, I promise you. The first one is, you can't say Blair Witch. You can't say it, even though I know it's probably the answer. What's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Ooh, I love this. Okay, hold on. I'm going to say Hereditary because that's the movie I've had the strongest reaction to as an adult.
Okay.
Like, as an adult, that movie scared the crap out of me and still does. So there's no, like, some movies I saw when I was little and they scared me and I still kind of have like nostalgia fear. Hereditary wrecked me in my 30s. So I'm going to say Hereditary.
That's
Shannon,
fair.
You got to forgive me because you've heard this story 15 million times. Ariel, I've got to tell you the story. I'm going to make it quick. So I'm on a business trip what I do when I used to have to travel for work, the first thing I did, where's the local movie theater? Pew,
Yeah,
beeline right there
absolutely.
on the company. Boo, boo. So there I am, and it's a 9 o'clock showing of Hereditary at the Sawgrass Mall in Florida, and it's me and 3 teenagers that are like 2-3 rows ahead. That's it. There's 4 of us in the theater.
Oh God.
They're so loud before the movie starts. They're so loud, and I'm like, oh, these kids. The movie starts, and their volume just got quieter and quieter until 15 minutes in, all of us were like, and we stayed that way for 2 hours. Now, here's the
Yeah.
crazy part. The Sawgrass Mall, the movie theater's on the outside. My car, I'd walked through the mall. Now
No,
it's locked.
you
So
had to go all the way around.
now I'm walking around. It gets better. Now I'm walking around, and as I'm walking around the mall, they start turning out the parking
No,
lot.
absolutely not.
One
No.
by one.
Nope, nope, nope.
I've got my wife on my cell phone, and I'm running, and I'm going, I don't know where my car is, and they're turning out the lights, and I think I'm going to get killed. And I ran.
I would not have made it.
No,
ran into a
I think I
gully.
would have just sat fetal position in the middle of the parking lot.
I run into a gully, and I'm in water up to my ankles, and it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because now it shocks me, because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not going to get killed by a demon. I'm going to get eaten by an alligator or bitten by a snake.
Right. Real fear. Yeah.
I did make it to my car, but that was like somebody was screwing around with me. Like
Had to be.
it was just insane. So that's my Hereditary story. But
Can
you
I-
are now second person to say that was scariest.
Can I tell you my Hereditary story real fast?
Yeah, go for
Take
it.
all the time.
Please. It's another.
Please take all the time.
It's a similar. It's kind of a good vibe to yours. So I saw it with my husband and a friend, and we saw it like later in the evening, and I was scared the hell out of me. And so afterwards, we went to go get some food at like this pub nearby. And I really had to go to the bathroom, but I was too afraid to go to the bathroom by myself. And so I was like, I'm not going to go to the bath because it was like down a hallway.
Of course.
I was like, I'm too scared. I'm not going to go to the bathroom here. I'll just wait till we get home. Well, while we were in the pub, we got a flash flood, which never happens here. Like, very unusual. So
Right.
we got a flash flood. We tried to beat it home. We got stuck in the flood, had to like climb our car to high ground and like wait for 2 hours to like get for the flood to subside a little bit to like drive home. That whole time I had to pee so bad. And I was just like, I should have just not been so scared and gone to the bathroom. And now I'm in a flood and this is a joke on me.
But I get it though. I get it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but
I'm not going down that hallway.
It's still valid, yeah.
But this film was unlocking something. It was putting it
man.
out into the universe, and it was because now we have 2 weird circumstances.
Yeah, it opened a portal or something. Ari Aster, you got to watch out. You got to watch out for him.
For
Son of a
sure.
bitch. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't have anything that interesting, but I think I definitely just like laid in bed and it was one of those moments where the lights go out and I'm like,
woo.
and I'm just like, look
Look
and
at
I'm,
your
and
ceiling.
I'm looking in the corners of my ceiling
Yeah.
and I'm like, no. And then I think I
Yep.
just sub the lights on. So
Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough.
I have no problem doing that. All right, Shannon, second question.
All right. So second question is, what is a trash movie that you love and you'll defend to the death? Can't talk.
Okay. Oh, I got to pick a good answer. You know what? Okay. I'm going to go with The Bye-Bye Man.
Okay.
Oh, I love that movie.
Really? Because there are 2 of us now.
Wait a minute. Sorry, wrong film.
I was going to say
Are you
nobody
hearing
loves
Slender
The
Man?
Bye-Bye Man.
Sorry, I was thinking of The Empty Man.
Oh, very, very different movie.
I don't think I've seen The Bye-Bye Man.
Well, it is trash. And here's
Alright.
the thing. I love trash. I
Fair
wrote
enough.
a book called Millennial Nasties. Like, I love trash. The reason I'm picking Bye Bye Man as my answer is because it seems to be unloved by most of the horror community. And so it feels like an answer that's like actually a good answer to this question. It is not a good movie. It doesn't make sense. It's barely comprehensible. But it's like a good sort of like scary premise. You get Doug Jones. You
All
get
right.
like
Yeah.
some other really good actress whose name is escaping me right now. I don't know. I just find it fun and comforting, and I hope that in a few years it gets a reprisal and people are like, you know what, the Bye Bye Man's actually fun, and I'm gonna be like, I was there the whole time.
I
Oh
can
wow. Faye
guarantee
Dunaway was in
Matt.
that movie?
Faye
Matt
Dunaway, that's who I was trying to think of.
what?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I
All right,
guarantee you,
okay.
Matt Orozco from Macabre Daily loves that film. Matt
Okay,
loves
I'll have to ask him.
all of like the trashier, the better.
Yeah.
Oh,
Matt's down
my
for it.
heart.
Yep.
Yeah.
He and I are talking pretty soon. I'm gonna be on their Macabre Monthly YouTube pretty soon, so
Nice.
maybe I'll ask him then.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
what a great crew of people. What a fantastic crew of people.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
We love Macabre Daily. All right.
Mhm.
So the third question is, all right. I think we even brought it up previously. If you could remake any movie, horror movie, what would it be?
Oh God. So much. So many ways to answer this question.
Yeah. And then your mind goes
Okay.
blank, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm going to say urban legend, and I'll explain why.
Respect.
Ah.
No, that's
No,
good.
yeah. No, well, yeah, explain.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I love it as is. It's so much fun. Rebecca Gayheart going bananas. Love
Oh,
it.
Ah, amazing.
oh,
I think that movie would be really interesting in the age of social media because part of that movie sort of hinges on they don't know what each other look like. You know, there are two characters that are in each other's lives, but they don't realize it. That is a lot harder to do now. And so, how would you tell us a revenge story like Urban Legend in the age of social media and using social media to sort of like fuel your urban legends? I
Right.
think I think that would be a really interesting movie to be given like a good loving remake. Don't let David Gordon Green near anywhere, but like somebody else could maybe do it.
yeah. I think we have a screenplay idea for you to start working on immediately. I love that idea.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
It would
yeah.
be a challenge in our social media age. It would be a challenge, but boy, if you could pull it off, that would be fantastic.
Right? Like I
That's
want
exciting.
someone to do it. I'm not a filmmaker. Like my creativity is not in the storytelling space. So somebody else should do that. I'm pitching that into the ether for somebody else.
You just plant
Shannon,
the
I'm
seed.
nominating you.
Okay. Okay.
So this is the point of our podcast where we hand you the keys because now we want you to
Uh-oh.
promote everything you want to.
Okay. Well, most importantly, like we said at the beginning, if Millennial Nasties sounds at all interesting to you, go to encyclopocalypse.com and check out the pre-order link. Or if you'd rather read some reviews of it first, you can find it on Goodreads. There's reviews there, honest reviews from people who I don't know, who don't know me. So you know they're telling the truth. And you can buy an audiobook, an ebook, a paperback, a hardcover, whatever best fits your preference. And physical copies are available internationally. It's not always obvious on the pre-order link. You have to scroll down a little bit to the other shipping options, but everybody can get a physical copy if they want one. If you'd rather have an ebook or an audiobook, you can have that as well. So if you follow any of my socials, Ari_Hellraiser, it'll be all over there. Or you can go to encyclopocalypse.com. That is, I mean, if you follow my socials, I'll post all my writing and podcasting there. But really, like, I feel like for like the next 6 months of my life, it's pretty much going to be all about the book. So
Yeah.
check it out.
That's fair, yeah, and we'll promote it as well. We'll keep
Oh,
Thank
resharing.
you.
I love.
hell
That'd
I,
be
yeah.
so
I
nice.
I do that on our story a lot. Well, I'll just reshare,
Yeah.
on our stories and everything. So
Yes.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so super easy to do. I like to do that too with
Mhm.
other people's work and just like throw it up there. Why not?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out on Instagram, you can find Ariel at Ari_Hellraiser, and it really is one-stop shopping on that link tree. Everything is there. So please, trust me when I tell you, you can go to Goodreads, you can check out those reviews, but I'll save you some time. Buy the book. It's fantastic.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so kind.
So
And the
this is
fact
so
that
much fun.
you've honestly created a new subgenre, which I'm A, jealous, and B,
It's
so
my dog
impressed
barking.
by.
I'm sorry.
Harley's letting us know it's time to wrap it up. So,
That's okay. I understand. I'm sure my dog is doing the same thing upstairs.
well, we've got you back in September, so I'm so excited about that. We are so thankful for you coming on the podcast. We know that you're devoting your time and you're taking time out of your busy schedule, so it is so appreciated.
Oh, thank
Thank
you
you.
guys so much. It's such a blast.
Yeah, we
Thank
had a
you
good
so
time.
much. I loved it.
All right, Shannon, take us out of here.
All right, Cinners, and that's a cut.
Bye, everybody. Millennial Nasties, go buy the book.
Woo, do it.
Woohoo!